Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time.
You don't believe this anymore, Tommy.
No,
you don't believe this anymore.
For one thing, we're well past the heart of the movie.
It.
It's like we're on the tail end of the movie. In every sense.
The armpit of the movie.
Late and I'm tired. I'm Tom. He's Pete. There's Jerry. Hey, Chrisser. What's up?
Hey, everyone. Somehow the magic is gone. I don't know.
I can't stop laughing.
Anyway, in all sincerity, we're here for minute 114, the jewel in the Temple of Doom crown. Minute 114... Minute 114 begins with Indy and Willie making out to the absolute delight of the assembled children. And it ends with a credit for the assistant cameramen, Robin Vigian and Chris Tanner.
Well, I've got a question about this reaction of the kids here. Did Shorty enlist the entire village to break up Willie and Indy's romance with his little prank? Because as you notice... Mm-hmm. As they start to kiss, these kids come running up and they start dragging them apart from each other.
Yeah. Gosh, it's almost like Solid's kids.
I was just going to say, is it one of those that'll take a lot more than children to save you this time?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
You're still going to have to make out with Willie.
I thought they just gathered around and then Indy and Willie just stopped kissing. Because it was already weird that they were
No, there's
kissing.
some kids, like, they're pulling at him. Especially Willie.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of dragging her off.
It's a reverse parent trap. Got this master plot to keep these two apart.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate since she just found her intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah, she's having a moment and Shorty's stepping all over it.
But do you think Shorty would want to break this up because he doesn't want to be with Willie or because he doesn't want to be with Indy?
Oh. Well, he's got his elephant now. He's fine. He's good.
Yeah,
he's got the world on a string. He doesn't need anybody.
Frankly, the whole thing's pretty awkward.
You know, it is tough. How does Shorty feel about Willie?
Well, they've had a couple of really nice moments. She saved him on the bridge, and she gave him a very maternal kind of caress and embrace, and he's kind of helped her. He's like, "Come on, Willie," a couple times and saved her life. And then when they walk into the village, they have a very sort of nice family moment. And I think he's got a nice relationship with Willie at this point. I think maybe even better than with Indy.
Maybe.
I think he might be coming to his senses and be like, this guy doesn't always maybe treat me like a good father figure might.
He tried to kill me with a bridge once.
I like having a secure childhood.
Bummer.
Take me to your Missouri.
I know what they were going for with that. What? I know that what they were going for in that family scene and so forth. But I just, and I know that everybody gets to get all chumsy and such when you've gone through big traumas and what. But I didn't quite buy that Short Round would actually buy that, right?
You mean it's almost like he's been present for the movie.
Almost.
Yeah, he's like, no, this is a little weird.
It's a little touchy-feely.
You think he'd actually, what he should be doing is splashing the water on a second time. And just being like, hey, I said knock it out.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, is it also possible that I was talking about, I think Indy drank or ate the Shiva sandwich that's kind of the opposite of the Kali blood. And maybe water is the thing that puts that out. So maybe Shorty's trying to wake him up from his spell.
Oh. Okay.
I have to say, I mean, we didn't comment on, and it's great that the very, very last shot of the movie has a beautiful and functioning water wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's functioning. we celebrate aqueducts, and there was a Molaram's watering this big water tower.
Yeah.
And then here we have the movie closes on one, and it's working. I love that.
I do too.
That's very nice.
I'm fascinated by the mechanics of this thing.
Well, the mechanics of it are there's two guys pulling it.
Yeah, they're like two guys doing like pull-ups with a bar, and they're running it with their feet.
Right.
They're kind of maybe wishing the stone hadn't come back.
There goes my free time.
Yeah.
Back on water wheel duty. Yeah, I think I'm glad. I mean, this ending is very, light and, kind of, I'll say bland. It's a little like, chummy and, end of like I said, it's like the end of a Chips episode or something. But I'm glad that they didn't try. I mean, Raiders has one of the greatest, most iconic endings that works perfectly. And I'm glad they didn't try to like top that or match that, because it just would have been very forced and it wouldn't have worked. And I don't know what they would have done. So it just ends like a movie. It ends the way it's supposed to end, I guess.
So you're telling people maybe have low expectations for our season 2 Indiana Jones minute ending.
Yeah, our season 1 was
Pretty sly,
fantastic.
Tom.
And, it was germane to the thing, and it worked perfectly, and I have no idea what we would possibly do. And as I say it now, it sounds like we're building up to something else. There's nothing. We have no ideas.
No.
Don't worry about it.
But
Move
wait
on,
till
move
season
along.
3 when Jerry's dad and he ride off into the sunset on a horse. It's going
That'll
to
be beautiful.
be gorgeous.
It'll be a video podcast by then.
I was waiting for the end of this minute to what would it be now? Oh yeah, they look over their shoulders together in a big convertible and drive into the sun. While the children sing, we go together.
Yeah.
Like
Flip the shades
Shamalama.
down.
Would Shorty be with him in the car?
No.
No,
That
yeah.
doesn't
hiding in
happen
the
in
trunk.
Greece.
He's staying with the elephant. He's staying with his buddy.
He's staying with the elephant. I did have a question about the kids in Short Round, though. So, and maybe this is a psychological question for you, Pete. So, do the kids in the village or the kids in this movie represent the same thing that Short Round represents? If they're all kids,
Uh-huh.
do they all represent the same thing?
How much time do we have to answer the question?
Yeah, really will. Have to get out graph paper.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure I understand your question, but
Well, let me put it to you a different way. So,
Okay.
Have you ever watched a cartoon where there's like a talking baby? Stay with me for a minute here. Okay, talking
Christy fell
baby, maybe a
asleep.
talking dog, right? Okay, and the talking baby meets other babies who can't talk, who are nonverbal.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you with me here?
I'm with you,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so we have this really heroic Short Round who's got all the, personality plus and practical jokes and so on and so on and so forth. And then everybody else who looks like Short Round in the movie,
Yeah.
they're basically the nonverbal, the non-talking dogs or
That's an excellent
the non-talking babies.
That
Yeah.
is.
I'm glad I was able to get that across because that, it sounded right in my head, but still.
But that also makes me again suspect that these aren't the actual original kids.
No,
Because
okay.
those original kids, Shorty was kind of their little Moses and led them all out of the palace. And these kids don't seem to have a lot of, they don't seem to care about who Shorty is at all.
I don't think they've met him.
Yeah. Like, who's that weird kid on the elephant?
Yeah. It's my elephant. Get off.
Get off my elephant. Well, then they don't represent much of anything either. Okay.
I like that idea though. They are like the non-talking dogs in the movie. And who are the non-talking dogs in your life, Jerry?
And are you the only talking dog in your life, Jerry?
Oh God, I wish.
Talk about Jerry.
We get some credits in this movie. We begin the credits
Yeah.
sequence.
The movie's over.
Yeah.
It's speaking of talking dogs. Does anybody else have this on their version that they're watching? At second 6, the Raiders March changes key, and it sounds
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds nuts.
Yeah. It does.
And it's kind of like, whoa, what just happened? And it's a fantastic ending for the movie because you're like,
I'm off kilter.
Yeah, what's up with this? And I think ultimately that portends trouble for Indy and Willie.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to bring it up really, but I don't know.
Is it a real minor?
If you listen to it, it's like da da dun da dun dun da dun dun da da.
Yeah, it's a really weird transition.
It's a really weird transition.
And it is very unsettling.
It
Which I
is.
think it does portend ominous things for the future of this happy family.
It's not just me. Like I'm looking in my computer going like, is the tape garbled? Like, did I leave this thing in the sun? Is it all warped or something? It just sounds really it's a strange musical decision. I mean, it doesn't really elevate things. It weirdifies things.
Yeah.
Well, we go from that, and then we're barely into the credits, where we of course go immediately to Shorty's theme because they're running out of reasons to go to it, so they just have to get it in there as fast as they can.
That's right. Every time they can't think of what to do.
I love that topic. But you know what is? It is kind of interesting. It's juxtaposed over the indie theme, which is really kind of crazy and weird.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why they did a key change or something.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if they're like, no, we got to shoehorn in fortune and glory. And it's not going to work in this key.
And an elephant.
Yeah.
So do you think Short Round's theme works over the march? Over the Raiders theme?
It works the same way like New Coke worked.
It doesn't work at all.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly.
I disagree. I think I like it.
What, New Coke?
No, I don't like New Coke.
Oh, okay.
I do like Shorty's theme, kind of playfully trilling over indies.
It is kind of interesting, and it's done well. Like, it works. It does work. You're like, oh, that's actually really cool.
It's got to be done well.
And it's kind of like, you know, who's the hero of the movie? Well, obviously it's Indy. We get the march, and then you get a little like, actually, da, 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 da.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And I got to say again, I always make fun of them going right to Shorty's theme every chance they get. I actually do like the theme. I just don't like the way it's used so heavy-handedly throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
I definitely think that Shorty is the hero here.
Yeah.
Shorty gave him a whole lot more to root for.
Super glad you feel that way, Christy.
I'm glad you're super glad.
Well, I think one of the things we should discuss in this minute, maybe after we finish through the credits, is we can kind of get into what we think happens with Shorty and Willie. But since we're talking about Shorty right now, I will start with this before we do the credits. In the canonical story of what happens to Shorty in the Marvel comics, in the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones back in the 80s, Shorty accompanies Indiana Jones on an expedition in the Caribbean Sea, hoping to find Atlantis.
No way.
And then he ends up rescuing Indy, like during a pirate attack, and then afterwards he goes back to boarding school.
What?
In the States or what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
do we
not
know?
sure. I just tracked down those comics. I'm going to read them. Maybe we can do a hiatus episode about some like what happens to Shorty.
And does that wind up being his like college essay, his entrance?
How I saved Dr. Jones from pirates.
Yeah.
300
How old is he in
words.
that? Do you know? Like, is this
I don't know.
Like 10
Yeah.
years later? Or?
Yeah, 8,
Yeah.
9.
Probably.
I totally buy the boarding school thing.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know if Indy would pony up for boarding school.
Well, no.
Maybe Willie did,
Maybe he got the U.S. government.
or maybe the Maharaja did.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. Maybe he owns the boarding school. Well, then it'd be England.
It's a good thing they cut out that part where he just stabs him repeatedly with his own hat.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have gone as well.
No. I would say.
Oh, I should just say as we get into the credits, every time I watch the end credits of a movie now, I look for my name, my wife's name, and my son's name.
Yeah, I do too.
And in minute 114, we have no Tom, Jody, or Sam, just so you know. For those of you keeping score at home,
either.
which is nobody.
We do have, you know how we pick our favorite names of the minute of the people scrolling through, and my favorite name for this minute 114 is Danny Daniels, the choreographer.
Yeah.
Because it's
I
a
saw
perfect name for this movie, just because you're left with a lot of questions. Just like, is he Daniel Daniels? Is that what's on his birth certificate? Does he go by, is that why he goes by Danny?
Daniel's my last name. Call me Danny.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Is he Daniels? And what's his middle name?
Anthony. I'm just kidding, but he sounds like he'd be C-3PO.
He does.
Yeah.
Danny Anthony Daniels.
I was picking up Dad.
I would prefer that his middle name is Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniels.
Wasn't one of our favorite names from Raiders credits Roy Button?
Yeah.
You see him again.
Yeah.
in this.
Yeah.
Well, I also like this. The credits of the entire movie begin with the casting crew. And I think no matter what you jackals might think of some of this parts of the movie, I think it'd be hard to argue that the casting in this movie wasn't, like, from top to bottom, absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, to the point where like the casting crew must have seen the movie and be like, oh, really?
That's how they use that guy?
Oh, he gave you this beautiful silver platter ensemble.
So they insisted
right.
on being first in the credits.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get second unit director Michael Moore back. He was
Yep.
a lot of the crew are the same crew from Raiders.
Yeah.
He did the whole truck chase.
Yeah. And then, like Jerry said, Danny Daniels. And he was a big choreographer on Broadway back in the 40s and 50s. So he kind of lived what he then choreographed for Willie in Club Obi-Wan.
Which
Seems
was
a
great.
long time ago.
Yeah, it seems a
was
damn
good.
long time ago.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a long time ago. I think it was, what, April? December?
Of what year?
Yeah.
1935. We get, maybe the best of the movie. I think we would all agree. Ben Burt, sound design.
Of
Yep.
course.
There just aren't enough good things you can say.
No. And Dennis Muren,
Yeah, Dennis Muren.
the secret hero.
Yeah. Tote's twin.
Yeah. Special effects wizard.
Yeah, the mind stuff he did was, I think, spectacular. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that none of us knew that those were puppets, stop motion animated in the mine, I think is incredible. That all these years, we never really thought about that. And then you look at it, you're like, oh my God.
You mentioned a detail in one of those mine minutes that they used progressively smaller light bulbs going down the
Yeah.
thing to make it look for forced perspective. I'm like, God, to just even think of that and then to do it. That's incredible.
Yeah.
These guys are
Yeah.
geniuses. And
Yeah.
can I say, I think I said this during Raiders, and I think about it all the time. Special effects guys, when you thought about them back then, like in Star Wars and Empire and Raiders and this, it's like they were dudes in like shorts and a beard and nothing else, and they had like glue and paint and cuts all over their fingers, and they were breaking models apart and making new stuff and doing things filthy and just crafting stuff. And now you see like the making of stuff for like, I don't know, the Star Wars prequels or something, and it's people like dressed like me going to work and like sitting in like a computer farm, and like they have conferences in a conference room. There's a coffee machine in the corner. You're like, oh, I want to kill myself. This is so depressing. Oh my God.
I like the way you said it the first time, Tom.
Well, and I suspect that Tom is wearing shorts and nothing else right now. So.
Well, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
beard.
Yep.
And my jewelry.
Well, we get two great stuntmen. We get the studio stunt arranger Vic Armstrong, and I think he's the imitation Indy that shows up over and over.
Yeah.
in the
More
movie.
than you'd think.
Yeah, and it's weird because he looks so unlike Indy in those shots, but in photos you see of them together in real life, they had this uncanny resemblance to each other.
They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get the location stunt arranger Glenn Randall Jr., also a famous stunt guy, and you may also know him. He was Boba Fett on Jabba's sail barge. So he was
nice.
one of the
Wow.
Boba Fetts.
Not know that.
Yeah.
What a fun job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except not for that scene.
Why is that?
Talk about one of the most ignoble deaths in the universe.
Yeah.
Well, that's what makes it a great scene for if you're the ignoble guy. I'll be ignoble.
Yeah,
I'll totally be
just-
ignoble.
The
Absolutely.
Sarlacc pit burps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least Chatterlall, like the wheel holding up the cage, doesn't burp when it maybe sort of half crushes.
True. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think Shiva. There's no special edition for these.
Yeah.
There will be. Tentacles coming out of the lava pit.
So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think happens to Willie and Indy and Shorty after this?
I mean, I assume they go to Delhi. And
Yep.
what's the deal with Delhi? Is Delhi at this point? I mean, is there an airport?
That's
in
my
Delhi?
guess. Yeah, I think that's the closest city of size, and that's where you catch a plane,
Okay.
or maybe a train.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Indy's trying to get back to the States, right? I mean,
Yeah,
right.
he failed with Lao Che,
Yeah,
and now he's just
Yeah.
going home.
he's going on with nothing.
Yeah.
He lost
Yeah.
his best friend, got killed in his arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
He didn't get any of the treasures he came after.
yeah.
Well, he
just
may have
going home.
pocketed the diamonds from the
That's
stone.
true.
We don't
I
know.
He may
forgot
have
about that,
pocketed
yeah.
the diamonds from.
He
Yeah,
may
yeah,
In which
yeah.
case,
yeah.
he's going. This was probably worth as much as the Nurhachi diamond.
Yeah, really. The
Probably.
glow.
Well, now when we talk about them, so if they're all going back to the States, and if Indy and Willie are together,
They're not.
where are they going? Are they going to Missouri?
She's going to Missouri.
She's going to Missouri. Maybe
but
maybe she didn't like California. Maybe she just didn't want to relocate.
And Indy said, well, no, this is just a layover. We're going to my home in Connecticut. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe they were actually totally hitting it off and it was a beautiful thing. And then it's like, this long distance thing isn't going to work. You're going to Missouri. I'm going to Connecticut. It's not going to be, they just had to break it off.
Whether it is California or Connecticut, I feel like she would love both of those places. Like she would love New York. She would love L.A. She would love San Francisco. All those places
Yeah.
had lots of places where she would really fit in.
That's true. Yeah, she was excited to get out of Missouri, it seems like.
Yeah, so I
Didn't go
don't
back
think
there necessarily.
I don't think it was a location issue. Maybe.
And I don't think she had much to do with Indy ever again. I mean, she wasn't really into him.
Yeah.
You think they did it?
Well, here's a question for would the movie have been any better if they had? I mean, I'm understand the tension and so on and so forth, and they don't kiss till the end of the movie. But would it have made any difference in the movie if they actually had pushed on the boob statue to get into the temple, right after or something?
I'm not a statue.
Well, we also don't know that they didn't do that on the way back to Mayapur Village.
True.
With all those kids following them?
Although her attitude.
Does that make any sense?
yeah, they had to sit down and tell them all what it was like. Hey, listen, kids.
Well, he would tell Shorty, and then Shorty would
Yeah.
spell it out for
Yeah.
them.
You know about the birds and the bees, right?
Well, she somehow lost her clothes she was wearing.
Oh, that's true. She had to go back to her
But do you think
indie clothes.
did this whole relationship fizzle in the Los Angeles airport or something? Just when they're like, all right, great. So here we are. I'm heading to gate C in 17. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he pulled out the whip in the airport and he's like, whoosh, and he pulled it. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. You did that once. Forget it.
It was cute once, Indy.
Yeah, it was cute once.
Well, Jer, I'm reminded, as you are, of Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, where Kirk has a little fling. I don't know if they do it either. I think they kiss, maybe. Maybe. He and this cetacean biologist who he brings back to the future with him, and it ends with he's like, oh hey, you want to go get coffee or something? She's like, no, I got to start a new life here in the 23rd century, and they just kind of part ways, and there's ships passing in the night, and maybe that's just what Indy and Willie are.
Well, that raises the question, though: is there a David Marcus Jones floating around somewhere?
Maybe that's why I was asking if they did it, because I don't know. Let's just say no.
Is there another young Indy somewhere? Well,
Maybe
that
we'll
might be
find out
good
in
though.
2020.
Yeah, maybe he could take over instead of Mutt.
Wow. Huh.
Okay.
Normally I'd say no. It would be worse if they did it in this case. But you do bring up an interesting point. We could put our Sankara stones over here into a whole nother kid and not have that Mutt thing going around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the Sankara stones are worth something after all. What do you think happens with Shorty?
Yeah, he's far more difficult to dispatch.
I kind of like the comic book story.
You do?
Kind of. I mean, I like that he's still in the picture, and I like
Yeah.
that he and Indy still do some adventuring, and I like that it sounds like in some way, even if it's sort of sort of a, arm's length way, Indy's sort of watching out for him and taking care of him and is presumably putting him through, school and stuff.
Yeah, I do
Even if
too.
it's like
actually.
boarding school, so he doesn't have to like make him breakfast and stuff.
See, I would pick something else.
What would you pick?
I would pick that Shorty actually gets adopted by family. Willie disappears and Shorty gets adopted by a family and never has anything to do with Indiana Jones again. Because I think that's
Back in Shanghai or family that lives in California?
California.
Okay.
I'll pick California for Shorty, but not Shanghai, because Shorty's he'll be okay. He'll be fine. Actually, he's the only grown up in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that guy. But I don't want him to have anything to do with Indiana Jones again. Break your heart.
Yeah.
No.
Well, see, my idea was that after they leave the village, Indy does this little plan to go back and steal the Sankara stone, and Shorty has some sort of pangs of conscience that tries to stop him, and this creates a rift that tears him apart, and Shorty just gets in, he winds up getting left somewhere, and Indy goes on its way.
I would check that box. That's also good.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, what is clear is that he's conspicuously absent.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about comic book this and that and whatever. He's absent and we don't really hear anything about him. And I'm not saying I would like it if we did. Like one of those Anakin Skywalker builds C-3PO crap.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying it would have been better if they, we name the dog Shorty or, and that's how he shows up or,
It is weird that in Last Crusade, I mean, they bring back Sala and they bring back Marcus and everybody, and there's like it'd be like a natural, oh, it's too bad Shorty can't join us, but he's just won the, spelling bee and whatever,
Thank God, though, the way those guys came back. I'm just glad Shorty didn't come back ruined.
Yeah.
Well, not even come back, just mention him, just say, he's on we remember that he existed. He's in the world somewhere doing something.
Yeah.
So then he would be the guy to have the spin-off movie, right?
He could be.
Well,
Sure,
it would
I'd
make
watch that.
sense. He's compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we could put him in Shanghai. We could put him in California.
But I think something happened really ugly between Indy and either Shorty or Willie or both of them. Because when we see him at the beginning of Raiders, he's kind of this hardened, embittered treasure hunter, and he doesn't seem to care about anybody or anything. And even when he comes across Marion, he's just kind of, he's angry and he's out for one thing. He's out for what he's looking for the treasure.
Well, maybe it's sort of like what happened to him with Marion. Like he made a mistake. Like he's bitter because he made a mistake. Like he just handled everything wrong, and now he's alone. Like maybe Marion, that didn't work out for obvious reasons, but he feels like he made a mistake. And maybe Willie and Shorty, like he actually cared about them. At least I do think there's like a bond between him and Shorty. I think that's like a real thing. And, but maybe he just, one too many trips to go find some crazy thing and leaving Shorty by the wayside or something. And so that's why he's bitter, because he screwed it all up and didn't appreciate the people in his life or something like that. And now he's like a lonely, bitter guy.
He didn't stop to listen to the bells in his life.
He didn't. He only listened to the sad bells.
I'm gonna float this and check this out, Pete. What if, think of Raiders and think of Indy's house and think of, Marcus goes over there and all that. Who's to say that Willie just wasn't out at Trader Joe's when Marcus comes over?
That's a very, very good question.
I mean, we don't even know that he's not with Willie.
That's a very
Maybe
good
that's
question.
their house. Maybe that's just their house, and Willie just happens to be, maybe it's girls' night out.
Yeah, I didn't think we could get more disturbing in this thread. Guess we can.
Yeah. Wow.
And when they got married, they had a deal. They're like, well, okay, we're not going to have an open relationship, but okay, you said there was that girl Marion. If she ever somehow gets back into your life, you got to pass with her, but then you got to come back to me at the end.
No, I don't think she knows anything about Marion.
Probably not.
She just, she's sitting at home thinking he's out on business.
Yeah. Huh. And he just, he's packing his bag, and he's like, you did it, Marcus.
Yeah.
You know.
She probably didn't even tell her he left.
Now I don't have to play bridge on Thursday.
Exactly. We have no indication that he and Willie aren't living together right there
No, you're absolutely
in
right.
that house.
Yeah. Marcus, leave a note on the refrigerator for me.
Yeah.
In the duck's
Put it
mouth.
in the duck's mouth.
Back to get Ark of Covenant and stir up old flame.
We're out of milk.
Oh, boy.
Well, we'll have more theorizing to do with next minute, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is everybody
Oh, wait a minute. There's something coming in.
coming in?
Yeah, the telegraph is a
Something.
little bit heavier. Older
weird.
Billy's good
Oh.
scruff. Oh, this one, this one's for you, Tommy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, thank Shiva.
It's over. It's over.
This is
I hear
there's Mimi Porter's contribution. Oh, thank Shiva. That's the end of the movie.
Phew.
That's beautiful. I can get behind that. Well, listen. Let's all come back tomorrow. We got more credits. We got more universal-sized questions to ponder. But until then, Pete, where can people let us know of all the people whose names in the credits we didn't make a big enough deal about?
Well, what I was thinking of, if you're going to be missing, you might not miss Temple of Doom, or you might really miss Temple of Doom, or you might kind of think, well, these guys are going on a hiatus, I'm going to kind of miss the show. There are still ways you can listen to the show. It's a slightly different show, but if you want to go to indianajonesminute.com/Patreon, you can help support the show and help us get ready to bring back the next season with Last Crusade. And in the meantime, you'll get access to our weekend show where we talk about movies like Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and we'll still be right there in your listening device.
We can't live without us, and we know you can't either. So you don't have to. That's the point. But however you listen to us, please come back and listen to us next time for minute 115 of Temple of Doom here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Are we doing Last Crusade?
Oh, Jerry, yeah, I thought you didn't see the memo?
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch
It's
it.
implied in our mandate.
All right, I'll do Last Crusade.